what a morning. My Lord, what a morning. Oh, my Lord, what a morning when the stars begin to fall. When the stars begin to fall. My Lord, what a morning. My Lord, what a morning. Oh, my Lord, what a morning when the stars begin to fall. When the stars begin to fall. Done quit all my worldly ways, join that heavenly band. Done quit all my worldly ways, join that heavenly band. Oh, my Lord, what a morning. My Lord, what a morning. Oh, my Lord, what a morning when the stars begin to fall. Done quit all my worldly ways, join the heavenly band. Done quit all my worldly ways, join that heavenly band. Oh, my Lord, what a morning. My Lord, what a morning. Oh, my Lord, what a morning when the stars begin to fall. When the stars begin to
Thank you, Penny. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to see you all out this morning. Don't know why. They have an expression in ministry for when a new minister comes, beware who meets you at the train. But I don't know what the expression is for leaving. Beware how many people come to church. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for coming. Nice to have people behind me. Don't talk about me behind my back today. All right? Save that for when I'm gone. Okay. So you're probably wondering why I'm wearing a suit. My mother told me to. Seriously. I went to my son's wedding last weekend. I wore the suit. And my mother said, "Oh, you look so good in that suit. You should wear it for your last Sunday." And I'm like, Mom, it's my funeral suit. And she said, well, you should wear it. And Mom, I don't wear suits to church. She said, and this is what every man will understand. She said, do it for me. Thanks, Mom. So, I had no, you know what that's like, right? There's no choice then, right? So I wore the suit, Mom. I hope you're happy. Hi, Aunt Shirley. Hi, Carolyn. Want to thank you for all the lovely cards and emails that we have been receiving. Very lovely. I see the chain up here. I'm going to have to read it all through afterwards, but it looks wonderful. Thank you for that. That's great. And I was thinking about this last week, about, you know, how we always did the sort of welcome time, and we can't, because we're not supposed to move and spit on each other. But I was thinking we could at least turn sort of and face and wave. Couldn't we do that? Like there's people in the balcony, there's people up here, so you could turn and wave at each other or something, yeah. Yeah, that's not so bad, is it? Huh? It just feels so stiff, right? And I realize you folks really like this in some ways because I can't tell whether you're smiling or frowning, so that makes a whole new world in church, right? Other than Bonnie with the plastic mask, I can see what she's doing, but the rest of you, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can be grimacing under the mask and I can't tell, right? So, a new age of church. So I'm going to, you know I'm nervous, I don't want to get all blubbery, so I'm going to ram right through this morning. Typical minister, default sermon topic. Every minister talks about love, right? Right, Dan? It's either love or being kind.
Why not?
So we're doing love this morning. So a couple of quotes, obviously one from Mother Teresa. She says, let us always meet each other with a smile, for the smile is the beginning. Already started. It's because I'm wearing a suit. For the smile is the beginning of love. The Dalai Lama, love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. I love this one. Brendan Behan says, a man is already halfway in love with any woman who listens to him. I think there's an incredible amount of truth to that, frankly. You can tell me stories later. And of course, Jesus Christ, a new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Let us say the opening prayer together. Let us pray. Sculpting God, you give galaxies their form, shape granite mountains, and design butterfly wings. Dancing God, you choreograph the path of stars and the flight of snow geese. Singing God, your divine song is sung by sparrows, mountain streams, and the rushing winds. Wonderful God, we rejoice to be a part of the divine world, which you love and sustain. Amen. And as we've talked about since this all started, we just sit for the hymns. We don't stand up and we sing forward, keep our masks on. Unless you're having breathing issues, then you can take them off, but just stay facing forward.
No.
Not a bulletin.
Blessed be the tides are high. We're going to present the Tese now, which is where we sing the same thing over and over and create basically a kind of a hypnotic effect where it sinks a little deeper into our subconscious, the fact that we're praying at all times.
God of all creation, you love us into being, yet we often flee our rightful place in your creation. We confess that we exploit the gifts you place around us and dominate the richness of the natural order. Forgive our greedy gasping. We confess our part in the devastation of our planet home, mirrored in the violence of cities and the brokenness of hearts. Forgive and restore us, O God. Nurturing God, remind us of other ways to live and of a place called home, where creation reflects your goodness and everything lives in balance with all others. Come and find us, set us right again, and take us home. Amen. Gentle God, mend our broken lives, restore, revive, repair, recreate us in your image, renew your creation.
Pure love, pure love, pure truth, pure truth, pure justice, God. Pure love, pure
Let me get out of your way here. So I chose a non-lectionary gospel reading this morning because I felt I could just do what I wanted this morning. So aren't I a wild, rebellious person, right? So I picked from the Gospel of John. It's my personal favorite gospel. Raymond Brown, who's a biblical historian and theologian, he always calls it the maverick gospel because it's different than the other three gospels. And I've been through this enough times that I don't have to ask you what the other three gospels are, do I? Pretty good? We're good on that? Do we know when John's gospel was written? Later. Okay, I'll go with later, right? So it was later than all the other three gospels. It was the last one written, hence why it comes at the last, in the fourth position. John himself is interesting because unlike most of the other gospel writers, what is often odd is in in pictography, he's almost always portrayed as a young person rather than an old person. The other gospel writers are often portrayed as older men, and I've never figured out why he's portrayed as a younger man in a lot of gospels. And I think it's because he's also the person that's considered to be the disciple that Jesus loved. And so he's kind of frozen in that time frame of the gospel story as opposed to being the older gospels who traveled around after Jesus died. I think that may be why it is. So anyway, his gospel is known particularly because he uses the theme of love all the way through his gospel. It's very clear in his gospel. He has Jesus as primarily focusing on love, unlike the other gospels. All the the authors of the Gospels all have an animal figure that represents their Gospels. John's is the eagle. So if you look up here on the lectern, right in front of Courtney, right in there, thank you, Vanna, you'll notice there's an eagle, a stylized eagle carved in that. If you go into almost any Anglican church, some Roman Catholic churches, the lectern or the reader will be sometimes in the shape of an eagle. Because John is a very prominent figure in those faiths. But this carries John over the idea that in his the next one, in the gospel itself, he writes himself in his own gospel as the disciple that Jesus loved, and he doesn't say that about any other one. So often you'll find pictures, these kinds of icons with Jesus, with John laying up against him. And it says in John's Gospel at the Last Supper, Jesus, as he's reclining, they reclined, they didn't sit up in chairs. John laid up against him at the Last Supper while he talked to the rest of the disciples. So there's a really interesting dynamic in the Scripture in John. Okay, Courtney.
From the Gospel according to John, chapter 14, verses 15 to 21, the promise of the Holy Spirit. If you love me, you will keep my commandments. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another advocate to be with you forever. This is the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive because it neither sees him nor knows him. You know him because he abides with you, and he will be in you. I will not leave you orphaned. I am coming to you. In a little while the world will no longer see me, but you will see me. Because I live, you also will live. On that day you will know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. They who have my commandments and keep them are those who love me, and those who love me will be loved by my Father, and I will love them and reveal myself to them.
My love colors outside the lines, exploring paths that no could ever find, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. My mother wore colors outside the lines, turns wounds to blessings, water into wine, and takes me into places where I've never been before, and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. Walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gray stones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Open doors to worlds outside the lines. We'll never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. We're so lost color outside the lines. Turn back the curtain, sun come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines.
You know, it's funny, I actually picked that hymn. I should have picked like Rock of Ages or something instead of something so mushy. Some days I can never figure myself out. So I just want to talk about love for a little bit. I must admit it's been really funny getting emails, people saying, oh, I like, thank you for being here. It's been nice to know you. And then trying to describe my preaching style. I didn't realize there were that many ways to say relaxed and confused. I have more adjectives now to describe the way I speak than I have ever had in my whole life. So thank you for that alone. It was fascinating. From ramblings to personal reminiscence, I got the whole thing. It was great. I really enjoyed it. So you're going to get the last one today of my rambling, personal reminiscent, carefree. I like carefree. I thought that was really good. That really addressed my style. So, one of the things I've always been interested in is trying to find modern day Jesus figures so that Jesus becomes more identifiable as a person instead of this kind of plaster sort of statue that we often subject Jesus to. And Bob Marley has always been one of my favorite Jesus figures. And for those of you who had children in the Bob Marley age, you probably don't like that association at all, right? Because Bob Marley was also associated with, sort of hippiedom, smoking up a lot, wearing dreadlocks, so you probably have bad connotations of that. Or maybe you have good ones, I don't know. But Bob Marley is an interesting figure because he's a Rastafarian, which is a Jamaican brand, or sometimes people consider it a cult or a sect, of a Christian faith. And it dates itself all the way back to Ethiopia, to Zoroastrianism, which is the oldest monotheistic religion on the planet. And so when the slaves came from Ethiopia to Jamaica, they brought with them the Zoroastrianism, unknownst to their Christian captors. And it developed under Marley's folks into Rastafarianism, which is a deeply spiritual and peaceful religion. So there is a connection there as to why people would be connected to it, not just to smoke up. And in the religion, as in all religions, if you read Karen Armstrong's great tome on the foundation of the axial age, you realize every religion developed some kind of getting high as part of their religious ceremony at some point every year, except for the United Church. We even took wine and made it into grape juice. We are the least cool people in the world when it comes to religious ceremony. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But he would write things like this: live for yourself and you will live in vain, live for others and you will live again. Where does that come from? Right? It comes right out of the Christian story. Right? Die to self, live for others. Right? Lose yourself and you will find yourself. I mean, it comes right out of that. It's fascinating. So you take this, when I first came here 5 years ago, I used to use this image often. This came out of a 1960s United Church stewardship campaign. And it was very radical at the time because it was the first time most Christian people had ever seen a laughing Jesus. The idea that Jesus was portrayed as someone who laughed, wasn't somber, wasn't straight-faced, wasn't lecturing or judging or criticizing. And I always thought that was such a wonderful depiction of the kind of Jesus I would have liked, because I would have identified with that Jesus. So when we come to the Gospel of John, John always has this image of Jesus as pointing to God. He doesn't have any expectation that Jesus is supposed to be worshipped. He said Jesus is just an agent. So he always said things like this: don't let your hearts be troubled. Always starts with that. Don't let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, believe also in me. So I always like that don't let your hearts be troubled thing, because that trouble has plagued me my whole ministry. From the time I started till every day, I'm always in trouble for something or other. So I found this little picture of the first church that I was a minister in. So this is in Scotts Bay, Nova Scotia. I was 19, and I was the summer minister. Some of you have heard this before. I was a long-haired, I could have been a Rastafarian. I wasn't, but I looked like one. And I got sent down at 19. There were kids in the youth group who were older than me, to be the minister in this church, which was a Baptist United Church Union. So one summer they sent a United Church student who taught everybody to dance and party and have fun, and then the next year they sent a Baptist student who told everybody not to play cards and not to dance. So they were very conflicted people. So I had grown up in a minister's household, so I knew basically the job, what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to preach on Sundays, supposed to run a youth group, and in the afternoons I was supposed to go visit. Right? Go door to door, visit everybody in the community. There were 65 households. I was there for 3 months. So I would get on my best denim shirt in the afternoon, and I would go down the community and visit. So one afternoon, I'd been there for a couple of months. I visited this very lovely older woman in her very beautiful clapboard wood house that looked over the bay. It was spectacular. And we had very nice tea and some kind of, I don't know, those diet cookies, I'm guessing, pretty well, on little trays in her living room overlooking the ocean, in the parlor, right? And the parlor was only used for the minister's visits and when somebody died, right? So they're just about equal, really, right? So I'm sitting trying to be on my best behavior on these dainty little chairs, and she's very quiet, and we're just making pleasant conversation. And she says to me, "Let me tell you about the ministers we've had." And so she starts telling me about all the ministers they've had, because this was a prominent church. It used to be a sea ship building before the steamships came along, like sailing ships were built there. So some of these old memories were quite pronounced, and there were some very wealthy people originally. So she started listing off Reverend Dr. So-and-so, and she said to me, "We had Reverend Dr. So-and-so, and when he was here, he was such a good preacher, and he was so smart, I couldn't understand a word he said." And then she said, and then, we had another minister who was here for quite a long time. He was a Baptist minister, and he was really smart as well. He could get you all stirred up, but I understood some of what he said. And then she went on this long list of ministers to the idea that their intelligence was ascribed with how little she could understand of what they said. And then, yeah, you know what's coming. And then she said, "And you, Mr. Lynk, I understand every word you say." So that's how I started ministry out. So I learned this, right? Keep it simple, stupid, right? People are not going to understand most of what you say anyway, or they're not going to listen, or they're going to tune it out. So at least you could do the favor of not speaking for too long, which I have tried to do. I hope it's been okay. And in the later years, what's been lovely is I have got to use pictures, right? So you don't even have to listen to me anymore. You can just look at the pictures. Ministry has become better and better the longer I've been in it. So the other little thing I want to leave with you is another Bob Marley-ism. Don't worry about a thing, because every little thing's going to be all right. Right? How many of us have spent so many of our years worrying, just worrying about everything? Our kids, our schools, our jobs, our homes, our cars, our trips, whatever. How many years have we wasted worrying about things? And now we're in the middle of this pandemic and we're supposed to worry all the time about it. How much time can we waste? Things will be okay. Things will be all right in the end. It's just another thing. But how much of our lives do we worry and waste when we can just suspend it a little bit? I think one of the great things about the Christian message is it will be fine. We need to be fine. It will be fine. Another little thing which I've always tried, look for beauty in everything. I mean, since we started showing pictures on the walls, how many beach pictures have I put up on the wall? Seriously, I'd have everything I said with a beach scene behind it, if I could get away with it, right? Look for beauty in everything. There's beauty all around us. I mean, I know you got sort of after a while when I got here. I used to tell you about my drive up here every Sunday, right? And you'd be like, we don't want to hear about your drive. And then after a year or so, you're like, how are the horses? Right? It's like I caught you, right? Because there's beauty everywhere. There's a little pond that I drive up by in the summer. It's there. Nobody looks at it. But I know it's there because there are painted turtles that sun there. And on sunny mornings when I drive by, I play a game and count how many turtles are on. And I do that at speed. Right? Because there's beauty in that little pond. Right? It makes my drive better. Right? There's always beauty somewhere, all around us. And we miss it because we're like this. We're always so there. We're always so going somewhere that we miss all that beauty. Another simple one. Could be out of John's. Love God, love people, love yourself. Could be right out of the gospel. And the nice thing about these things is you can flip them around. Could be love yourself first. Lots of people say that if you can't love yourself, you can't love anybody else. I think there's a lot of truth to that. If you can't love God, you can't love people. You remember the Charles Schultz Peanuts characters, Linus used to always say, he said, I love humanity, it's people I don't like. Right? We always have these little caveats. I love everybody, but there are some people I really don't like, right? Love God, love people, love yourself. It's really hard to separate or tease out one of those because you miss all three then. It's all right, I'm getting to the close. This is one of my favorites. This is Eckhart Tolle, who's quite a great, well-founded theologian. Life isn't as serious as the mind makes it out to be. Right? And you know that because you know every time you take something too seriously, afterwards you realize you're ridiculous. You've made a great mistake or a grand mistake. So I have a little story for you. We go to the next slide. So this is the church that I used to be at in Brantford. So that is the reconstruction. I was there for 14 years, and in year 10, when I was supposed to leave, it burnt down. The two are not connected. And the congregation said, well, you can't leave now, you have to stay until we rebuild. So we had an old Gothic church, very dark, all dark wood, couldn't see outside, dark windows, sat about 800 people. So I said, I will stay on a couple of conditions. One, that the church is built ground level, so you can walk right in off the street, not a step. Two, it has movable chairs in it and not pews, so that it can be used for all kinds of purposes. And three, it should have transparent windows in it. Because we're a community church, we feed people from the community, we have people on methadone who come into the church every day. I'd like us to look out on the world in which we serve. I'd like it to be a symbol for who we are. I said, those three things, if you'll go along with them, then I will stay. I was in a bit of a position of power. That would have taken 45 council meetings to get that through. It took me 3 minutes, right? So that was the end product. It's pretty beautiful, isn't it? Right? It even had remote control blinds. You could just press a remote and they go, It was a very cool place. First day, first church service to dedicate the church. I'm all excited. I'm thinking, look at this place. We've got the architects here. We've got community people in. We've got the mayor. We've got the congregation. And I get up there to do my little preaching thing like this. And I'm talking about, look at these windows. This is symbolism. We're looking out on the world. We can see what's going on around us. And I'm ready to ramp it right up, to congratulate them. The church is paid for. It's open. It's ready for business. And as I'm just getting into it, somebody yells out, "Hey, somebody's breaking into my car." Shuts the whole service down. Shuts it right down. And Colleen and 2 other people go running out the front doors, and people go running out the back doors, and I'm like, oh, thanks. Thanks, God. That is really, really funny. Now imagine if I took myself really seriously. Here's my penultimate. This is my big moment. I've created this beautiful space. Look, and they're out chasing this guy down the street because he's breaking into their van in the parking lot. And he's probably one of the people we feed at our suppers too. It had to be synchronous. The whole thing had to work together. I have learned not to take yourself seriously. There is no point to it. So I'm going to close with this. I thought this was great. If you laugh a lot when you get older, your wrinkles will be in the right places. Thanks for always listening, folks.
Thank you, Allan, once again. And we're going to invite a few special people up. You're all special, but we're going to get a few of you. And we're going to invite little Logan Byzantine to come on up, and he's going to join us too on the piano, if we can get by there. And yeah, almost there, Logan. So you say you're careless, but that you're full of care, obviously. And I don't know what I'm going to say right now. Maybe I need some help, some musical accompaniment. Imagine Gravenhurst without Allan Lynk. It would be a very different place. For one thing, we wouldn't have screens here with beach scenes. We wouldn't have this community of folks from all over Gravenhurst coming to say farewell. This building would be a little emptier as it might have used to have been. So we thank you, our servant of peace. And I've misplaced my little badge for you. Keep it going, Logan. So we're all going to have to learn how to be a servant of peace when you're gone. And there's a few things that we can keep in mind. So with that, we're going to invite Janice to come forward and sing this beautiful song called Servant of Peace for you all. Thank you, Allan and Colleen.
Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope.
where there is darkness, light. Where there is sadness, joy. O divine Master, grant that I may not so much seek to be consoled as to console, to be understood as to understand, to be loved as to love. For it is in giving that we receive, it is in pardoning that we are pardoned, it is in dying that we are born into eternal life. God is such a God is such a and God is such a God is such a again God is such God is such a God is such a Now, we were singing Ada Sache, Jugada Sache. No idea what it means. Does it matter? The feeling is there, the spirit is there, and that's what Allan was all about when he interacted with everybody in this town. What's resonating from the heart. So it doesn't matter what the words are or if you even understand it sometimes. You can feel it. So thank you, Allan.
Well, we will struggle on with the pastoral prayer here. If you would please pray with me, let us pray. In our prayers, let us give thanks to the gifts of God and pray for those who work in God's vineyard, saying, we give you thanks, blessed Spirit, for the bounty of the earth, for the goodness within the human heart, for the power to change, and the will to learn. Let us give thanks. We give you thanks, blessed Spirit, for all those who work for healing, for people in the caring ministries, for ecologists and researchers, for pastoral care workers and friends, for the hands of Christ in the world. Let us give thanks. We give you thanks, blessed Spirit, for all those who teach, supervisors, students, resource people, program directors, camp leaders, wisdom, knowledge, guidance. Let us give thanks. We give you thanks, blessed Spirit, for those who struggle for liberation and justice, for those who risk their lives for others, for those who work for human rights, for those who speak on truth on behalf of the oppressed, and for all who bear witness to the way of Christ. Let us give thanks.
We give you thanks, blessed Spirit.
And let us say the Lord's Prayer together. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, as we forgive our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Oh, sure.
So I found the little badge that's for Allan, little peace symbol to remember me by. And this place is going to continue after Allan's gone. I hope you know that. And so Mike Church gave me the idea to make another video, choir video, more people in it, and a little more upbeat. So we've got a Beatles with a little help from my friends. And we don't want Allan to go, so we're just going to keep doing things in the service. You're not getting out east today. And so I'm just going to show a 1-minute clip of this video, and it highlights Allan's work here, and it highlights Gap at the end, especially. Unfortunately, that's in the last part of the video. So you're going to see a bit of the beginning. It's going to be Allan. Well, I'll just play it. Andrea, can you get a close-up of this? And this video will be coming out in full later with the ability to donate money to Gap. And it's going to be a vehicle for a lot of more robust back end going on here with videos and YouTube. Got it? Very rough cut here, very rough cut. I know you can't see it, but you'll see it on the... So it's all about volunteers. So my part is missing there, and then Allan comes in.
Stand up and walk out on me. Does it worry you to be alone? How do you feel at the end of the day? Are you sad because you're on your own? No, I can't hide with the help of my friends.
And that's your sample. So there's more coming. So look forward to that.
I just wanted to note that this hymn I always sing on the first Sunday I come to a church and on the last Sunday when I leave, just so you know the reason I chose it. Now may the peace of God, which surpasses all human understanding, keep watch over our minds and hearts, bodies and souls, this day and forevermore. Amen. Well, Dave, I guess you wanted to, I think Dave had some stuff. Did you morph that into a Star Trek thing at the end? I thought I recognized Star Trek at the end there. Okay, yes.
We'll add the special effects.
Well, I've been dreading this day for 2 weeks, trying to think of what to say about Allan's work. After about a month when he came 5 years ago, I knew we'd hit gold. And he has been a pleasure to work with ever since. And the only thing I can say, Allan, is a great, big, sincere thank you. I would now like to call Arden to come up. And then after Arden, Rhonda. Oh, Ann. So.
I woke up at 3 o'clock this morning thinking about Cape Breton for some reason. So I wrote a poem. We'll remember the minister who came from Brador, whose foot hit the pedal when he walked out the door. To say it's our loss would be a true claim, but to others for sure, what a big gain. While we watched him preach and all sat in awe, despite leather and blue jeans, we were soon in his paw. His shoulder-length hair really wasn't quite there. That's okay. The congregation didn't seem to care, 'cause the hippie thing would have seemed a big dare. It's 65-40 and 5 and a day, and we wish him and Colleen a wonderful stay. In God's green acre beside the big sea, where they'll rescue the perishing who sit at their knee. So recall all the times you drove north in the rain, and remember with fondness those of us who remain. Best wishes to both of you.
Good morning, everybody. I've been told to be brief. I understand that Allan and Colleen have rather a long way to go today, and they are leaving as soon as they have shaken everyone's hands outside the church and in. In fact, of course, I should remind you that we cannot even do that. If there is an advantage to COVID-19, is that Allan cannot shake even 10 hands today, let alone 100. But we can clap. And another reason is that it makes us thankful for doctors, nurses, personal support workers, caregivers of all kinds, as well as researchers and specialists, and the list goes on. By Allan's side is an RCMP officer. I don't know about you, but I feel we have been very honored to have such a person in our midst so often. I expect all her fellow officers are lining the roads from Gravenhurst to Nova Scotia so that they don't get lost or change their minds and stay. The other reason I think she is here is to watch his language. I have heard words spoken in this church that I have never heard anywhere else. And I have 3 sons and 8 grandsons, some still in their teens. I think he has been trying to tell us that it's okay, indeed healthy, call a spade, whether in God's house or anywhere else. And of course, Colleen will help him get his fleet of vehicles to Nova Scotia. I really secretly hoped he would leave his Mini behind, because I had one when I was young. It was my first car, and I thought he might pass it on to me. I thought I knew the Bible reasonably well. You know, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts and Romans follow on. But in the last 5 years, I've learned so much more about the persons of interest in the Old Testament, whose stories and messages were as relevant as those in the New Testament. I want to thank Allan for leading us down paths we might never have explored. Allan, you have opened our minds and made us think. You have opened our hearts and helped us to be more kind and forgiving to more people. You have shown a quiet and strong belief in the goodness of people. Your ability to listen is the cornerstone of your ability to remember names. You have brought comfort to people in distress and to those in hospital, in retirement and long-term care facilities, and provided support and understanding when it was most needed. All of this was shown in us and encouraged us to reach out to others throughout the community. Thank you for leading us down paths we might never have explored. During your stewardship, our church community has grown, and the support and encouragement you have demonstrated has led to more than double the number of groups who meet here. Your leadership and quiet encouragement has led to greater community involvement and appreciation of the strength of commitment to others. Throughout all this, your availability to individuals who needed a listener or encouragement has never abated. Allan, you probably had a better idea of what you were coming to than what we had of what we were getting. You met the challenge. We shall miss what we got very much. We shall also miss your mother, and I, for one, will miss the updates on the horses. Yeah. We do hope you get across the Nova Scotia border. If not, you are very welcome to come back here. We wish you both good health, happiness, and enjoyment in your new home. On behalf of Trinity community, I thank you very sincerely. Take care as you travel and stay safe.
Thanks, Ann.
Little gift.
This is just a small token to remind you of the beauty of Muskoka and bring us to mind, as you will surely be in ours. Thank you.
Thanks, Rhonda. Thanks, Ann. That was beautiful. You want to take it? Please? Yeah. Well, I feel like I've spent so much time yakking here at this church that I don't have much to say. And I couldn't say all that I wanted to. And the big, it's not going to help if you stand there crying. So I got to think, like this is why I have enjoyed being here so much. Just one small example is that when I came in here originally, just at the beginning of the service, Bob Weeks handed me a hanky. And he promised me it wasn't used. In other places I would not have trusted, but I do trust Bob that this is a clean, fresh hanky. So where else does that happen, right? Other than in this place. Everybody has always been very thoughtful, very personal. And I remember when I was sitting here and just looking around while the folks were singing, which was beautiful. Always the music is beautiful. I remember, and you may not remember this, but when I first came here, I started in the pulpit with a gown on my first Sunday. And I remember thinking to myself, I wonder if I can get away with not being in the pulpit. They don't know me. They may think I do that all the time. So the next Sunday I came down here, and then the next Sunday I went back in the pulpit, and the next Sunday I came down here. And then after I did that up 3 or 4 weeks, I said, well, what do you think, pulpit or on the floor? And for some reason I will never understand, you just said on the floor. And that was it. It was the last time I ever spoke in that pulpit. I never wore a gown afterwards, and my manner of dress got, shall we say, more anti-mother, more comments from my mother and other people. But that was my experience with you folks from the beginning, was that anytime I said, should we try this? You always said yes. Not all of you, but most of you. And I just thought in 5 short years we've done a lot of stuff. And it's not, I didn't do it. I just said, should we do it? And you guys said, let's do it. And we have done a lot in 5 years. And it's why I've enjoyed here so much. And that's why I'm having a hard time expressing how much it means to me. So, yeah, last King Herod. I'm just happy I was wearing shorts, that's all. Didn't know I wasn't supposed to cross my legs on the stage. Not a great actor. Anyway, I just want to say thank you. I'm not going to name names, because if I start naming names, I'm going to miss, and I don't want to do that. But you know how thankful I am. We're going to miss you terribly, and I hope you keep in touch. And you're always welcome. Yep, you are. We have lots of room, and we'll have my own private seafood person just down the road. So you're always welcome. Anyway, thank you, and God bless you. Thanks. We're going to go this way, I guess.
Now in peace, never be afraid. God will go with you each hour of every day. Go now in faith, steadfast, strong, and true. Know God will guide you in all you do. Go now in love and show you believe. Reach
That's my big fake
out
check.
to others, so all the world can see. God will be there, guiding with God's love. Go now in peace, in faith, and in love. Amen.
Allan and Colleen are now going to go into the office and get their coats on and get ready to leave. We are going to get our coats on and go outside and form a line along the street into the parking lot, and Allan and Colleen will follow us out and say their goodbyes. So thank you. Thanks, Allan.
Oh, that's... Yep. Oh, thanks. Here, give me a hug. I don't care. I love you, buddy. I'm gonna miss you terribly.